Oh, is it?
It's
Okay.
where Google is, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're live on YouTube now, so I'm going to go ahead and start. I'll just do a little
Oh,
introduction.
aloha, Heidi. Have you read my book called High Beings of Hawaii?
Okay, so we're
Encounters with Encounters with Mystical Ancestors is the subtitle. I recommend it.
yes. I recommend all of her books actually. Her books are delightful. So I'll go ahead and do a little introduction, and then I'll turn it over to you. How's that?
Oh, that's great. I'm just enjoying, Judy, seeing
Okay.
everybody. Barbara from San Luis
San Luis Obispo. Hi, Barbara.
Obispo. Okay, that's nice. And oh, Scott wants me to repeat the name of my book. Okay, I'll do it. It is The High Beings of Hawaii, and the subtitle is Encounters with Mystical Ancestors.
Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and introduce our speaker. Let me welcome you, actually. Good evening. Welcome to this evening's presentation. My name is Judy Kitt, and I'm the president of the Foundation for Mind Being Research, also known as FMBR. And for those of you who are new to us, I want to let you know that FMBR was founded 41 years ago in 1980 as a nonprofit organization that was really seeking to advance the consciousness of individuals and organizations so that we can live in greater harmony with one another and the earth and the cosmos. Through the study of science and higher realities and universal laws and principles, FMBR seeks to provide resources to help individuals discover, explore, and apply wisdom so that they can live with a greater sense of peace, love, and awareness. So I encourage you to check us out at fmbr.org. And you can see all of our past presentations on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is FMBR TV, and we have people joining us from YouTube on YouTube as well. And if you're on YouTube and you have a question for Tanis, go ahead and type it into the chat, and Mary will text me the questions. So we're really, really honored to have Tanis Helliwell here with us this evening. Since childhood, Tanis has seen and heard elementals, the nature spirits, angels, master teachers in higher dimensions. And wanting to assist others with their spiritual transformation, she conducted a therapy practice specializing in spiritual transformation for 16 years. As well, to heal the earth and to catalyze individual transformation, she led tours and walking pilgrimages to sacred sites for over 20 years. To develop spiritual intelligence in the mainstream, Tanis also worked for almost 30 years as a consultant to business, universities, medical organizations, and government. In January of 2000, at the urging of many of her students, she founded the International Institute for Transformation, which offers courses in spiritual transformation to assist individuals around the world to become conscious co-creators and guardians of our world. She has a new website, which just launched, I think, Friday, was it? Called My Spiritual Transformation, which I put in the chat, myspiritualtransformation.com. Tanis is the author of 6 books. Is it 6?
I think it could be seven.
It could be 7.
It could be eight. I have no idea anymore.
So prolific writer, including Summer with the Leprechauns, which was the first book I ever read by her, which is absolutely enchanting if you haven't read it. They're all wonderful. So I encourage you to read her books. Tanis is a sought-after keynote speaker with insightful awareness, good humor, and practical ways to lead a conscious spiritual life. So Tanis, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. I read Summer with the Leprechaun in, I think it was 1995 when it came out.
1998.
98, so almost 20 some odd years ago, right? And it was I was absolutely charmed by it, and I'm just so pleased to have you here to talk about ancestral healing, which I think is really up right now. I think it's a key part of our evolution. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Judy. It's because of Judy that I'm here tonight. So I really want to honor that Judy sent me an email and told me she loved my books and asked me if I would come and speak on nature spirits or would I come and speak on spiritual transformation. And I think she gave me one other choice too, which I can't remember now. And so I wrote back and I said, ooh, I'm always happy to talk about nature spirits and whatever that other thing is, I can't remember. But currently, in like 2 more weeks today, I'm starting an ancestor and family healing workshop, an online retreat. And I would much rather address that as well as spiritual transformation because for me, they're like this. And she said, "Go for it." So we found the dates, and here we are. So I went on your website, and I read that you've been involved with this for, as Judy says, over 40 years, and that you are an educated group. I'm not quite sure what that means anymore. What is educated? We could almost stop there. Um, for me, education is that we're continually learning. And we know that we are getting more glial cells continually if we continue to learn and grow. And how do we do that? Because I know you're interested in spiritual transformation, as am I, and that you're interested in science, as am I. Although I'm not a scientist and I could never get physics, I couldn't get chemistry, but anything that was alive, I got it. I got biology. And having not even taken physics and chemistry, I was able to do biology at university and get A's. So it is the connection with the earth, the living life of everything that I am interested in. So whether that is the life of humans or the life of plants or the life of elementals, nature spirits who are in other realities, these things draw me. And I feel deeply the interconnection between all of these things. And so when we're talking about education, some people have several degrees. I'm sure you folks do. Have several degrees and continue to learn. But other people get into a rut and they're in a habitual pattern and a habitual way of thinking and doing in the world. They're stuck. And I find that very sad when people get stuck. And part of my work in the world has been to unstick folks. Somebody said to me, I think they did Mayan astrology. In fact, I'm pretty sure they did. And they said to me, "Did you know that you have the code for the death bringer?" Ah, and I thought about this and I thought it's true because I do help people to die to old ways of thinking. So it isn't a physical dying, it is the dying to outmoded belief systems. And right now, we're at a time when all of us have to confront the filters that we live with and challenge them. We have to challenge our own filters. And I don't think always that the world is going to reflect back to us what those are. In fact, if anything currently, I think that the world is in a lockdown to hold our filters in place so that we do not challenge and we do not move through them to higher realities. That is my That's my deep feeling about what's going on. Here we are, my beloved friends who I only see in the chat box. Here we are at a time when we have an immense challenge with the earth, with climate change, with everything that we've created. And what are we doing? We're busy on, have you had an inoculation or not? And let's, put people in different groups and separate us. Maya, the illusionary state that we're still existing in this third dimensional reality that we call our awake state, Maya, the illusion, is all about separation. And to reinforce separation reinforces the illusion of Maya. So we know, scientifically, we all know this, that we exist in so many dimensions simultaneously. Not just this third dimensional reality, but in the fourth, the fifth, God knows, countless dimensions. Maybe we can measure 8 at this time mathematically. I think I've lost track of how many theoretical mathematicians say that we have, but it is limitless. I believe that our Creator, our God, whatever you want to call the universal intelligence that got us started here, I believe this universal intelligence is growing and evolving as well. So it is a paradox. It's the paradox of the both and. We have to move away from the either or, the black, the white, the right, the wrong, and embrace the paradox that we're going through right now of the both and. So can our Creator be the all-knowing intelligence in its unmanifested state, and in its manifested state, can it be growing and evolving even as we are? I believe that's true. And even as I believe it's true for us, that in our soul beings, we are one with the Creator, with this infinite intelligence, the absolute intelligence, and we are one with this. At the same time, we are growing and evolving. And can it be that our Creator is growing through our growth? If we are cells in the body of the whole, as we are, we're cells in the body of the earth. Everything in my physical body is made up of the earth. So we're cells in the body of the earth. We are also cells in the body of the sun. It's interesting that right now we're only at the point in our evolution where we can think of ourselves as earth beings. Mother Earth and the evolution on the planet of the earth. But the sun's intelligence is so much greater than our earth, which is just a child to our sun. And so we'll be able to move to embrace this next as humanity. The solar beings, not just the earth beings, the solar beings. And isn't that a nice word? Solar beings? It's our soul. When we are soul beings, we will be able to embrace the solar beings. And from there, we're evolving to be cosmic beings. All next states in our evolution. And yet all of these, because we know you folks know, being interested in science, that on higher dimensions, there is no such thing as time, that everything is an eternal present. And so in this state, which we're in right now, we are in the eternal present, as well as being, it's the paradox again, as well as being in this third dimensional reality of past, present, future. We are also in the eternal present, the both and. And change happens in this eternal presence outside of time. And in this state, this is where the ancestors dwell. And the ancestors are not here embodied currently unless they're highly evolved, and there are. And we are ancestors too, by the way. I'll get to that in a minute. But in this eternal state that the ancestors are dwelling in, which is the disembodied state, they cannot affect change in this dimension except through us. But if we can move into this moment outside of space and time, which really is effortless, remembering that we are in it right this moment. It's not other than where we are right now. You could say it is the pause. It's the pause moment between the past and the present. It's this pause. And in that moment, this eternal moment, when we are changed, we can affect change all the way back in time through the whole ancestral line. So if there are any wounds and any traumas that have come down through our ancestors, these are erased through our consciousness. And as well as affecting it forward in time to our descendants. So the entire pattern is erased. And how do we do it? How do we enter this moment? First of all, by just being attentive. I realize that many of you are meditators. And in meditation, the most fundamental thing we always are learning is the breath. It's the balance between the out-breath and the in-breath. And almost all basic meditation practices starts with the breathing and this working with the out-breath and the in-breath. And between the out-breath and the in-breath is the pause. There is always a pause between the out-breath and the in-breath. It is natural, organic, part of our body, part of our being. That is the eternal moment, is that pause. So it's with us all the time. And this is why so many wonderful, enlightened teachers talk about conquering the breath, becoming breathless. Because when we're breathless, the pause stretches. It becomes all pause, all present moment. So it's nothing other than what we are. It is what we are. And Judy told me that she feels the ancestors have been calling to her deeply, and me too. And it's because we're moving into their realm. We're moving into these higher realms now. The Aquarian age is all about the conscious human. You who are astrologers know that. It is the water bearer, the human who pours the water of life onto the earth. And that is what our destiny is in this next 2,000 years. To pour our essence, the water of life. We are 75% water. I know my water's shrinking now that I'm getting older, but I try to drink as much as possible to keep up my water. And so we are on this planet Earth. The Earth is 75% water. When a baby is born, it's 75% water. Duh, common sense. We don't have to have a PhD in science to be able to see that there is an intimate connection between the earth and us. Just knowing that. So water, as we know from Misuru Emoto's wonderful books on water, water responds to our thoughts. You know his experiments, I'm sure you do. His fundamental book was Messages from Water, and he was a Japanese scientist. He's dead now. I remember meeting him in my younger years. And he was able, just briefly, he was able to take the sample of water and divide it into two different vessels. And one of the water containers would be, he'd think bad thoughts, and then the other water container, loving, kind, generous thoughts. And then he would do these water crystals and see what kind of crystals came from the not nice thoughts and the nice thoughts. And you can imagine the nice thoughts got beautiful crystals that were fully formed, fully embodied. And the not nice thoughts got not nice crystals, all glummed together in lots of black, and things weren't fully formed. So how much of our media is negative? How much of our thoughts are negative? What we think determines our reality. That is the case. We think the thought, we fire it with our emotions, and then we get the result in our physical bodies and in our world. So we need to start always at the thought. And who's going to keep us accountable? Well, if we're lucky enough to be married or to live with somebody, they often will keep us accountable because they will point out to us when we have not been expressing nice thoughts or nice feelings. Yay for our partners. And sometimes, if we're parents, we can keep children accountable, and sometimes children can keep their parents accountable. But even if not, I believe all of us have this duty to hold ourselves accountable, to become observers of our own behaviors. We can't depend on anyone else to keep us on track. We have to do it. And so we have to observe ourselves, which once again calls for the pause. In order to be a witness, to observe ourselves, we have to separate from the little me, the ego, step back so we're really the soul consciousness. Now there is a separation, a pause, and now we can be both. We can see the little me having a bit of a rant about something, and our soul consciousness is, a little too much on this, a little, a little too much. Think you need to course correct. Now, the little me can enjoy having rants, and so may not be course correcting, even though their conscience, whatever you want to call it, their conscience, the little voice within us, our own self-talk, helps to direct us. We need to restrain ourselves. We need to course correct. And right now, we are being given this incredible opportunity. We are right at the changing point. We are pioneers, all of us here. We are pioneers. We've come for this time. This is a time that takes a great deal of courage. We're still got one foot in the Piscean age, which is the age of the ego, where we're independent and no one tells me what to do. And we've got another foot going in to the Aquarian age, which is the age of community. It's the age of co-creation. It's the age of interdependence. It's the age when we leave the cocoon of the caterpillar consciousness, which is the ego-centered consciousness, gobbling up everything on the earth. And we go into the cocoon. Great time. We're in the cocoon right now. We've been put into a cocoon. So in the cocoon, let's do our work. Let's go through our spiritual transformation so we can come out the other side as the butterfly. And what is the butterfly? The butterfly is a being of beauty. It has also always been a being of a symbol of the soul. And it fertilizes everything else around it. So it's not a taker, it's a giver. And that is what our destiny is in this next 2,000 years of the enlightened human. It's to be a guardian on this beautiful planet. So that is what is going on right now. And we're being given a wonderful amount of energy. We know from science that there are more solar flares right now. There's all sorts of technological challenges that are happening because of this. So we're getting all this energy coming from the cosmos down through our sun to us to spiritually transform us. We are in a cocoon. And yet we can still talk. This is not my ideal, my good friends. I would much rather be with you in person, and I'm sure all of you feel the same. This separation physically is getting a bit draining. But it is what we have to deal with currently. We have to, each of us, ask ourselves, when we're looking at our own personal transformation, we also have a role to play in the world. Even if it's on Zoom, we have a role to play. And we need to ask ourselves, what is my particular specific thing that I need to contribute? And stay on that. Stay within your sphere of influence. If we are always in our sphere of concern, we give away our energy, we give away our power. And this is a time to look, what is our sphere of influence? Who do we draw? On what topic do we draw people? What is the feedback? What feedback do we receive from others about why they want to be with us? Why do they want to speak with us? Why do they want to be with us physically? Look at the patterns, look at the recurring fractals in your life to see where the doors open and where they stay closed. I know in my life, anything technological is a bit of a challenge. And things that are mathematical, oh my God. Um, I've had 3 accountants fire me because I can't seem to balance anything or add up anything and get the right numerical answer. I don't go there. I just hire accountants, hire bookkeepers. I practice every year and every month. I practice by doing my own account so that I keep exercising it. And I guess, some of my bookkeepers and accountants now tell me I'm actually excellent. But I've gone through decades of the other. So I've got up to a working level, but I'll never be a genius. It isn't my gift. So look at how you can contribute your gift right now. And don't worry about, are you the leader? Who cares? This is around co-creation, community. It's how do we lend our energy to anyone who is doing anything that's going to benefit the world. So give our voice behind it. It isn't our work, but give our voice behind it. So that is the important thing for, I think, all of us to do. Be in our sphere of influence and stand up for our gift. And it's a time when working through the 4th dimension to get to the 5th dimension, everybody is so happy to get to the 5th dimension, when we're all going to be, nice in heavenly astral realms. But I'm sorry, folks, we're going through the 4th, and the 4th are the hell realms. These are the lower realms. And in this realm, we have to look at purifying all that humanity has ever created. So we start with, what did we create in the lives that we've had? And as I said, as we erase it in the whole ancestral pattern. And then after we are looking at erasing that, it's erasing it for our family. When I talk about ancestors, I don't just talk about the family, though. I talk about our tribe, because we're also erasing it for our tribe. So what is our tribe? What, like, I'm obviously, white, Caucasian, Irish, Celtic. And so I need to look at, what are the woundings in the Celtic tradition? Well, alcoholism, let me tell you, and boy, I have that all through my ancestry. And alcoholism, drug addiction, why trying to change the reality? Also, a great deal of pain and poverty. Great deal of hunger. And so looking at that through my family. So look at the tribe you are a part of. Maybe you're Jewish. Maybe you're Asian. Maybe you're Black. Some people don't identify as their tribe that way. They might say, well, I'm a trans person, I'm transgender. Okay, that's your tribe, fine. What's that mean to you? And then we have to also look at our country karma. We have to look at what is our country karma and erase that. I'm a Canadian, and yet half of my relatives are American. So I feel like I have, my mother was born in the States, and my father, his first wife and child, all happened in California. So half of my relatives on my dad's side ended up staying in California. So I have both camps in a way. And what I love about Canadians is our compromising nature. This is one of our gifts, being able to compromise and not having to say, mine, to do that. What I love about Americans is standing up. So I think the best person is you put a Canadian and American together. Then you get someone who stands up, but they know how to compromise. But look at the karma. Look at the karma. There's a downside to being a Canadian. I mean, you folks have an eagle, king of all birds or queen of all birds, I'm not sure, but it's something of all birds. And most countries have lions and tigers and bears. Do you know what we have in Canada as our national symbol? A beaver. A beaver. What does that mean? What does a beaver do? Well, it creates it works itself to death. It's a little rodent working itself to death, trying to raise a family, but it's making a wonderful environment for all the other animals so that the ducks can come to the pond and the deer can come and drink the water and everything else. So that's what a beaver is. And I have to guard myself against workaholism, I have to tell you. So so look at the symbol of your country and think of, well, what's the downside of that symbol? So all of this is ancestral karma. And not only that, we have spiritual ancestors. For example, I mentioned past lives a little earlier, and that I've discovered in doing ancestor and family healing that some of the traumas that have come down in my family, actually, I was the creator of the trauma 200 years ago. In other words, I was my own ancestor. This is a shocking revelation. Shocking. So we have to also do our past life links into ancestral family healing. And we also need to look at our spiritual ancestors. Even though we have our physical lineage, what spiritual tradition are we drawn towards? In my earlier years, I was raised a Christian. And United Church, which is a Protestant, a very social worky kind of Protestant denomination. And I was raised that, but I found, because I'm a mystic and have been since a child, that they weren't mystical enough for me. There were no saints. There was nobody having visions, So in other words, there was no one who could help me. So I became a Buddhist. First of all, I started with TM meditation when I was still in university. Maharishi came and I started TM. And I did that for 6 years. And then that ended and I went on to Tibetan Buddhism. I've worked a lot with First Nations and taught a lot with First Nations. As a matter of fact, I'm a pipe carrier, but I don't practice this. My current practice, I've done Vipassana, a lot of Vipassana work. I've been a meditator for decades. And my current practice, and the one which has called me all my life, is Paramahansa Yogananda. And I am sure that that will be my current and final practice. And the only reason that I could go with, it's called Self-Realization Fellowship, was because Paramahansa Yogananda has as part of his lineage Jesus, as well as Krishna. So it circled right back to Christianity. So that is important that we look at. So I feel very connected with so many traditions in the world. And so who is my spiritual ancestor? Well, can it be Jesus? As well as can it be Paramahansa Yogananda and his lineage, because they're all part of the same lineage? I can do that myself. This may sound strange to you, but it makes sense to me. And our spiritual lineage only has to make sense to us. Doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. So when we look at ancestor and family healing, we have to put it all together. And that might seem like a lot to talk about in a very short period of time. But I feel that we are being given the opportunity to change ourselves at a cellular level. And that is what's going on. This is happening to us right now. And this is what the ancestors want. They want it right down at the cellular level for deprogramming. And in spirituality, which a lot of you have been involved with for as many decades as I have, I'm sure, often we learn top down. We pray, we affirm, we meditate. It's top down will change us. We change our thoughts, that comes to the next. We learn love, this comes to the next. And the last thing that happens is we get it in the body. I learned that. I believed that in the earlier part of my life. Now that I've been so engaged in working with the body elemental, which I started talking about in 1998 in my book, Summer with the Leprechauns, Meeting the Body Elemental. And I've been doing so many workshops in healing with this body consciousness, the body intelligence, the body elemental. Now I realize it's also from the bottom up. So it's this both and that I've been speaking about. And on any level that something changes, it changes the entire framework for us and for all of us. So I said I would speak for about 40 minutes, and I have. And now I think there is some time for questions. So I welcome any questions that you have. I'll do my best to answer them.
So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I had one before we even started, which was when you go into healing ancestral lines, the question was which, and there are many, as you said, there are many that that contribute to us. And which do you start with? If you're adopted, what is your how do you work as an adopted person with your lineage? That's probably not an easy answer, but
I
I'm going to put
found
it out there anyway.
Okay. I found that adopted children pick up the patterns of their adopted family. So they become a combination often, but they certainly pick up the traumas and the gifts often of their adopted family. So that becomes their family. It's the same thing if you've immigrated. You've immigrated from Germany to the United States. So you're German, you have that country karma that birthed you, but you have an adopted country. So you pick up those patterns of that adopted country, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So that so this is the way things are going. It's hard to disentangle things sometimes, and I feel that it's all intermeshed in a way, rather than we can separate. So, like this and this, it's all interconnected. And yes, enough.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So that actually leads to my next question, which is, you mentioned that pause, right, between the in breath and the out breath, and between the dimensions. And I think you said ancestors dwell outside of time, and they cannot accept change except through us.
That's right. In the
And
physical reality.
um, so yeah, I'm just wondering about, because we all exist on so many dimensions, and our ancestors, of course, exist on many dimensions. We're talking about healing patterns and negative associations and trauma that were experienced in third dimensional reality, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And how do we let me see, this is a question, I know this is a huge question. How do we clear trauma from our parents, grandparents, and great grandparents?
Okay, there's several questions coming here.
Mhm.
First of all, let me just say that we've created trauma. We've also got gifts. We mustn't forget that we've also created beauty on the planet. There have been gifts, there have been blessings, so much compassion, forgiveness, many wonderful things that is also part of humanity's collective karma. So when we're talking about the collective karma of humanity, so here we've created on the physical, but when we die, we're disembodied, okay? So we're between lives. So in these higher astral realities, we're between lives in astral realities. And we go to the level of our frequency. I see this very clearly. So the level of our frequency is because of our thoughts. And this is why the Tibetans have always said, you've got to be thinking spiritual thoughts when you die. The importance of it, because this last thought is really impregnated with so much energy. So that's what the realm, when Jesus said, there are many mansions. In my home, there are many mansions. He meant all these different frequencies based on our thought processes. But we also go there, and I want to say this before I forget, in our dreams. So we are in the astral reality in our dream state. Where are we going and what are we doing in our dream state? And pay close attention to this. A lot of us right now aren't just working on the wake time, we're working on the sleep time. I personally sleep under the stars. I sleep under the stars outside, just in a see-through mesh, from the beginning of June to the end of September. It's getting a bit brisk out there now, about 9 degrees. But I find that sleeping under the stars, I get fed. All summer I am fed, and that this energy, the dreams, the downloadings happen so much. So I
Wow.
hope I did lend some credence to, and ancestors, depending on how enlightened your ancestors are, they are in different realities. Some of them could even be in a causal reality, the thought reality.
You talked a little bit about the bidirectionality. There's a question here about bidirectionality, ancestors and descendants, clearing clearing karma, clearing negative patterns. And so the question is, can we clear the traumas of our descendants the ones yet to be born in this timeline.
Yes, if we clear ours, then we clear it for them. And also to remember, for example, I have no physical children. I have three stepchildren, and I have three nephews who are quite close to me as well, as close as my stepchildren. So I affect them. Even
Mhm.
though they're not my blood descendants myself, I am affecting their frequency.
Mm.
So don't just get tied up in blood. Please don't do that.
Yes, we're much bigger. So,
Mhm.
Fran, my friend Fran, who by the way is the one who brought up your book again. She's the one who got me back to your book again. She says, can you suggest a healing prayer format to help us heal ancestral traumas, disease, and family dysfunction?
Yes, in fact, the person before actually said something about this too. And what one thing that I would do is just give me a second. This is something we can all do together, and it's something to open our heart and to create more space to enlarge the pause that we're talking about. And it's the word allow. Allow is the word amen. It is Allah. It is the heart sound. So this is what I do with allow. And you can do this along with me if you wish to. I chant it. Allah. And I'm going to do it again with you. Put your hand on your heart, and your heart, you should feel the vibration in your heart when you're doing this. I chant it at the note which for me vibrates my heart. Okay? Allah. 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 So, I'd be interested in hearing how many of you could feel when you did this the vibration in your heart.
I did.
Good.
I did for sure.
So, this is one way to open the heart more, to move past separation, because this is the time not to be separated. Even if physically this is what our governments do, it doesn't mean we have to feel this way. We can feel connected. So we must move out to this allowing, this pause that erases all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a question about Scott wants to know if you feel connected to Ramana Maharshi, who was also in that the lineage of Paramahansa Yogananda. I assume there's a connection there.
Lahiri Mahasai and Lahiri Mahasai, yes, many of them. Yes, I don't know who you mean. I have read one of his books. Well, only one of his books. Yes, yes, I do.
And if you will allow a couple of questions on elementals.
Yes, of course.
I know this is a huge question. What do the elementals look or feel like to you?
Huh. Well, for those people who've read any of my books, you know I have an elemental friend who has been with me now for some time. He's a leprechaun, and his name is Lloyd. And he was involved in Summer with the Leprechauns, wanting me to write that book to help people to learn about nature spirits. He also was there on our pilgrimage with the leprechauns, where I took 30 unsuspecting people to Ireland to meet fairies, and he hijacked the trip. And he's also in High Beings of Hawaii, to you Hawaiian people there, on working, and he wanted me to meet the ancestors of Hawaii. And so they were the elemental ancestors of Hawaii in all four directions. And they also were the human ancestors of Hawaii. And they also were the Amakuas of Hawaii. And the Amakuas are the tribal ancestors of Hawaii. And I found out that two of my Amakuas, my tribes in the Hawaiian tradition, are Pele, the fire goddess, and the Mo'o, the water dragon, who in all the myths are enemies. And so my father is the one who is the Pele person, the fire person, and my mother is the one who has the Mo'o, the water dragon. And so I'm very fortunate that Kimokeo, those people who know, is one of the very important First Nations Indigenous leaders in Hawaii, and he has endorsed my book, which is a great honor.
Mm.
So these tribal ancestors, you may feel, maybe one of my tribal ancestors would be a tiger or a leopard. It could be an animal that has always drawn you. It could be your Amakua. So we can't, this is our relationship with all beings of the earth. And some of these beings are mythological beings, but not to me. You see, for the person who asked, I always have seen. I see, I hear, I feel. So I could be a professional medium if I ever chose it, but it's not my destiny. You've got to stick with. My destiny is to help people develop these things themselves. It's possible for all of us.
So you see them, you hear them, you feel them.
I do.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That really comes through in your books too. Tell us again the name of the book about the Hawaiian.
It's The High Beings of Hawaii, Encounters with Mystical Ancestors.
One of your many great books. There was a question about the relationship to elementals, nature spirits, and what we perceive to be aliens. And I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but it's how do elementals relate to aliens here on Earth?
Okay, now I have to refer to another one of my books.
The
It's
hybrid book.
called, yes, it's called Hybrids, So You Think You Are Human. And this is a book that has become my second most popular book, interestingly. And it was my students who asked me to write it. I was in Germany because before COVID, I worked in Europe for 2 months every year. And I came down from a meditation retreat, and everybody was sitting at the lunch table laughing when I came. And I said, "What are you laughing about?" And they said, "Because we have the name of your next book, and we want you to write it." And they said, "Hybrid, so you think you're human." So you see, my students give me assignments. Co-creation, folks, co-creation.
Mhm. Exactly.
And yeah,
Collaboration.
and so it's about the 22 possible hybrids that we could also be descended from. So we can be have ancestor that are hybrids, that are star being hybrids, such as dragons or angels, or the pan hybrid, or the Horus hybrid. These are ones I talk about. Or we could have human cousin hybrids, such as the beings in the center of the earth, or the dolphins and the whales, that we know that they and our lineage are the same. I mean, even if you've looked at the anatomy of the dolphins, you will see they've got all the finger bones that are in their flippers. And all the myths talk about the people of the sea and when they went in. So what I did in that book is I went through the myths of humanity all around the world and any science I could find, and I wove that in with the stories of the hybrids of what I see, so that there will be scientific evidence for people. I think your folks would really enjoy that book.
Mhm. I'm in the middle of that one right now.
Do you enjoy that book?
I'm enjoying it greatly. Absolutely. Um, one of the things that stuck with me, and you talked about it early on, that I really took from my first reading of Summer with the Leprechauns was when Lloyd said, um, basically the message was, you're not the only ones that are evolving, right? you
Yeah.
you humans, right? You think you're the only ones evolving, but the nature spirits, the planet herself, and you spoke about, the creator. This is all one big evolutionary process, and we're in it together. I think that's such a beautiful concept, and reassuring.
Yeah, reassuring that none of us has all the answers,
Mhm.
and this is a collective story, and how beautiful to have our part in it.
It is. I think I have gotten to all of the questions. Um, Fran asked her follow-up question, which was, what invocation might you offer to accept and claim support for our gifts from our ancestors? And can we send this healing into the future? Is that also encompassed in the allow chant? An invocation to accept and claim support for our gifts.
I think that sounds like a very good idea, Fran. I think that's very good to ask for support and and implement it as if we already have received it. There's there's only two ways to go through life, with fear or with love. And the only way to get through fear is to do what you fear the most. So this is the quick way. It's the tantric way. And it definitely has been my way. To continue to step forward even when you don't know how it's going to end, to commit yourself fully. And this is a time to do just this, to commit ourselves fully. And even if we say, I may not be correct, who cares? You did the best. Forget about error. Forget about error. Oh, we could be wrong. We could be wrong. Oh my God. Second guess yourself. Do the best you can to discern every day where the truth lies and realize the truth is evolving. We outgrow various levels of truth in our lifetime. It is not static. And so your reality may not be the reality of everybody else. It may not even, it may, for my reality is very seldom ever the mainstream reality. It's been a bit lonely that way. But anyway, often I find that I'm about 2 decades ahead of my time. I wish I wasn't, but I seem to be. And so I feel I am away. What my path is to just lay the seeds. Let somebody else reap them. I'm here to lay down the groundwork. Let some build the first story and let somebody else come and build on top of it.
I think that's
So,
beautiful.
yeah. So
Really
find
seeding the future.
seeding the future.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes. And
there you go.
holding a positive vision for the future of humanity and for the evolution of this planet. I know there's, like you
Yes,
said, there's so much negativity and there's so much despair. I think that it becomes almost a radical act to really to stand in the belief that we are moving towards something ultimately beautiful and positive,
exactly.
transformative.
And we can continue to meditate on that every day. And
Exactly.
I promised I would do a meditation for you folks.
Yes.
And why don't we do a short meditation just on this to to see to see ourselves going into a most positive future. Okay. Okay, so let's just close our eyes. And just imagine that our spiritual ancestors, the ones that have been with our soul through all incarnations, are here helping us, here shedding light on our vision, carrying us through difficult times, walking along beside us, and holding our hand. And just take a moment to feel into that. And do not worry if you do not see a particular being. Don't worry if you don't hear a particular message. Don't worry if you don't feel anything. They're there. You're calling on them and they are there. When you turn your attention to them, they are there. And some of them have a great lineage of many enlightened beings in their lineage, all who are your ancestors. And they know that you are seeking consciousness. You have applied yourself to study. You've applied yourself to self-change and transformation. You've applied yourself to developing more love. And you've applied yourself to hard, dedicated work for spirit. Imagine that your spiritual ancestors see and recognize you. Feel embraced by your spiritual ancestors. Heart to heart, their spiritual bodies infiltrating your physical, emotional, and mental bodies. They can totally permeate you with their energies. Allow this to happen. Breathe this in. And exhale. And as you exhale, let go of the stuck places. And breathe it in. And as you exhale, unwind your DNA where you hold it tight through fear. And breathe in their essence. And allow their gifts and their spirit to infiltrate all the cells of your body. And as you breathe out, all the debris of past actions and past feelings and past thoughts that no longer serve are exhaled. And just sit here in silence, breathing in and out, seeing this process of transmutation, changing your lead to gold, your coal to a diamond, your caterpillar nature to a butterfly. See this happening at every cell of your body, vibrating with higher frequencies, tuning you. And I will be silent for a minute as you do this. And you can see this and feel this happening. And know that any time you return to your breath with consciousness and you pray to the ancestors to help you, praying especially to the lineage to which you belong, spiritually, or your tribe, or your physical ancestors, or all of them, that they all are supporting this process. They all want this for you. Because as you change, they change. Your blessing from them is blessing them. As you are blessed, so you bless. As you are loved, so you love. As you forgive, you are forgiven. And as you're forgiven, you forgive. As you are loved, you love. The endless circle of creation, spiraling up into ascension and enlightenment. Just releasing any comparison with others. There is no better, no worse. We each have a place. We're each loved exactly as we are. We're seen and loved fully. See and love yourself fully. We are works in progress. How perfect that is. And thank your spiritual ancestors to come to you today. Thank them. Thank your tribal, your physical ancestors for lending their energies. And then gradually, very gradually, you will find yourself coming back to your consciousness of your body, your lovely body, and coming back to join our wonderful community.
Thank you for that. That was truly beautiful.
Thank you.
Fran said to tell you she's really glad that you're ahead of the times. You are setting a precious foundation, and we're very, very grateful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all.
Lauren says that's
And
really
yeah,
great, very powerful, very helpful.
I'm so glad I was helpful, and you were helpful to me by asking all of your questions and all of, just inviting me. Thank you so much for your trust.
So the website is myspiritualtransformation.com, and
Yes,
is that where we would find the ancestor work
yes,
the course that you're doing?
it is. If you go to that website, you can see a small little video and maybe some endorsements from some of my students. And then you can press to the next page where you see a bigger write-up, and then you can decide if you want to join us. But I hope some of you will. I know you have, Judy, and I'm
I
happy
just
about that.
exactly. I'm going to be doing it. So do this with me, and it'll be great fun and meaningful work that I think is transformative. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Tanis. Enjoy your sleeping out under the stars tonight, and
Thank you.
say hello to Lloyd for us. And
Okay.
okay. Thank you,
Hello from
everyone.
Lloyd.
All right. Good night, everyone.